stuff with the overseas wars and the war on terror and all that stuff. But in his administration, which is carried on under this hapless, hopeless guy called Gordon Brown, he also advanced the Orwellian state in Britain in great leaps and bounds. So in every area, and he was biotech's man in Downing Street as well. So in every area, this man played out the agenda on behalf of those who control him, not least the House of Rothschild. And now they want him to become president of Europe, so he will do the same at that level as well. So this has been a totalitarian tiptoe, as I call it, where you set out at one point, you know where you're going, but for goodness sake, don't tell the people where you're going, or there might be a problem. Yeah. Just tell them that you want to centralize a bit more power in Europe because it would be easier and more efficient. Tell them it's a free trade area, nothing to worry about, the common market, the EEC, no problem. Then just step by step, grab more and more power for the center on the totalitarian tiptoe. Just make it clear that these are not connected, all these different bits. And then before people realize in large enough numbers, actually they are connected and they're going in a specific direction, very coldly and calculatedly planned long in advance. By that time, with a bit of luck, it will be too far for them to do anything about it. And we're virtually at that point, Henrik. The Irish vote slowed it up. But from what I gather now, the opinion polls and stuff like that, not that you can always go with them, but the feel I get from people in Ireland is that there's a very, very, very good chance that they will vote yes this time.
Yeah.
And it's a simple thing with this agenda. It doesn't take no for an answer. You know when it's the agenda unfolding, because if a situation is vehemently unjust, on the face of it, if you don't know what it's meant to achieve, insanely stupid and ridiculous, and yet they still push on with it, it's the agenda. And when you see people saying no to things, and instead of accepting them and saying, okay, the people have said no, this is a free union and democracy and all that stuff, they just say, no, you give us the wrong answer. You've got to have another vote and give us the right answer. And what happened, of course, with the Constitution is that France and the Netherlands defeated it in a referendum so comprehensively and soundly that they knew that the old trick of going back and saying, have another referendum would have been a waste of time. So all they did is change it from a constitution to a treaty and say, oh, no, it's a treaty now, so no need for any more referendums.
Yeah.
And of course, the treaty is 98% of the Constitution, which left Ireland, which has to have a referendum for the kind of changes, constitutional changes that this treaty represents. And so they thought they would have an easy ride and just the Irish would vote yes, but they didn't. But it's obviously they've been working very, very hard in undermining the no campaign since that vote, and it seems as if they've been effective up to this point anyway.
Absolutely. And again, I can read just a quote here from Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, who kind of helped to draw up the EU constitution. And this was a quote he did back in 2007, I think, or something like that. He said, public opinion will be led to adopt without knowing it the proposal that we dare not present to them directly. All the earlier proposals will be in the new text, but will be hidden and disguised in some way. Valéry Giscard is, by the way, Knights of Malta, but there's so many things we can talk about in regards to this now, because I think even a German court have actually recently said that the treaty is unconstitutional, but yet even though this is the case, they're still probably going to sign it. There's so many things that seems to, just as you say, lead up to this fact that countries cannot ratify this according to their constitution, but yet they're going ahead with it. So they managed to pull it off against the law. How is that possible? What do you think, David?
Because they couldn't care less about the law. The law to them is that which suits their agenda and imposes their agenda. Any law that gets in the way of the agenda, well, they couldn't care less. They just don't recognize it. Because they have this global spider's web. It's like a transnational corporation. The center of it is in Europe, for historical reasons, at operational level anyway, places like Rome and London, Paris, etc., Berlin. And it operates like a transnational corporation in that the headquarters then dictates to all its subsidiary companies, if you like, which are subsidiary networks of secret societies that operate in each country. So there will be a network of secret societies and semi-secret groups in America, in Canada, in Britain, in France, in Germany, in South Africa, wherever. And their job, and it's usually the ruling bloodline families of that country, like the Rockefellers in America, that are the big powers within these subsidiary networks, so that the Rockefellers obviously work within the wider spider's web as well. But these subsidiary networks, they have the job of controlling their country's politics, banking, business, media, military, etc. And imposing in their sphere of influence, their country, the agenda dictated from the center. And this is why when I travel around the world, I see the same things happening, justified by the same excuses, all over the world. So when you are looking at the constitutional nature or the attack or the constitution invalidity of this Lisbon Treaty, those networks control government agencies, they control law enforcement, they control oversight of government behavior, and that network together just works as one unit to make sure that even though it's unconstitutional, even though it's against the laws of the country, it goes through and those laws are ignored. And this is the way it works. If you control the perpetrator and you control the agencies that's supposed to protect us from the perpetrator, then you control the outcome. And this is why the laws and the constitutional checks and balances are simply not looked at. They're ignored. And unless someone has the power to come along and say to these people, no, this is unconstitutional, this can't happen, then it just goes through. And that's what's happening.
Absolutely. And there's so much in regards to corruption and the money issue as well that you mentioned before. The MEP, the members of parliament, the corruption, they literally bathe in European tax money. One German newscast a while back brought this up in regards to allowance frauds. I don't know if you ever saw that, David, but just incredible how much money they actually make and basically throw away. I mean, you guys have over there now, I think her name is Martha Andreasen. She's actually from Spain, but she recently joined the UKIP, the UK Independent Party, and she was actually the chief accountant in the European Union to kind of audit all the money and so forth. And she actually quit because of the fraud and the waste that she saw that was taking place with European tax money, David.
Yeah, they don't audit. They don't audit the European Union. They ignore it. The scale of corruption in the European Union in all areas, from bureaucrats to politicians, the whole thing, administrators, is absolutely staggering. I mean, these politicians get tens of thousands of euros a year on agreed expenses that they don't have to even produce receipts for.
That's right.
I mean, the story on my website today was that the latest installment of this exposure. And so, again, the European Union is a law unto itself. And because it's so vast, it does not have any ability to hold itself together in terms of any efficiency of accounting, any efficiency of administration, because it's just so vast. It's just like a monster. And one part of it doesn't know what the other part's doing. The people at the center do, mind. But most of the people involved in the European Union have no idea what's happening in all the different parts of it. And therefore, corruption can abound without detection and without consequence because of the way the monster has become an entity in itself. I mean, the European Union is like a big energetic consciousness field. And it's very, very difficult to administer it and to account for it because it's so vast and it's so unwieldy in the way that it's structured.
Absolutely. And, you know, you have a few